Walking off the job, some 55,000 Canada Post workers are on strike after failing to reach a deal with their employer. Good afternoon. As the holiday shopping season gets underway, parcel delivery just got more complicated with Canada Post workers now on strike.
The union says it's calling for fair wages, but failed to reach a deal before midnight. CTV's John Musselman is live with an update on where things stand now. John.
Well, Nathan, the Crown Corporation says it's disappointed about this strike. Meanwhile, the strikers behind me say they're trying to recoup losses that they felt they've suffered because of inflation. Striking workers set up picket lines today outside this Canada Post complex at Dixie and Eglinton in Mississauga. Mail delivery has stopped, and workers claim the Crown Corporation refuses to bargain in good faith. Local workers say they are seeking higher wages and improvements to both benefits and pensions.
And we need fair wages. We can see inflation going up. It's not only about the wages, it's also about the pension, it's also about the benefits, it's also about respecting the staffing.
Unfortunately, over 1 year, and today we don't have anything. And Canada Post is not negotiating in good faith. We're asking a good negotiated collective agreement with a dignified raise and a pension.
In 2022, we accepted a deal to fall below inflation again, and now's the time that we need to catch up to inflation.
Canada Post released a statement this morning advising people service will be impacted. Customers will experience delays due to the strike activity. Mail and parcels will not be processed or delivered for the duration of the national strike, and some post offices will be closed. Service guarantees will be impacted for items already in the postal network. No new items will be accepted until the national disruption is over. The strike comes 40 days before Christmas. And keep in mind, it's not just the Christmas holidays. The Black Friday sales are coming up in just a couple of weeks, so there'll be very busy period of time for packages to be moving, and the workers who are on strike, that won't be happening, at least through Canada Post, but people can use private couriers. Reporting live, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, John. And still to come, we'll have more on the nationwide impact of the strike and what that could mean for mail delivery as we get deeper into the holiday shopping season. That's a little later in the newscast.
1 down and 5 to go. Taylor Swift didn't disappoint last night. It was a sold-out crowd at Rogers Centre for the first Canadian stop of her Eras tour.
The energy in the city buzzing yet again today as Swifties prepare for Taylor to take the stage tonight. CTV's Sean Leithong is back outside Rogers Centre with more on the excitement. What's the atmosphere like today there, Sean?
Well, Michelle and Nathan, it's a lot like yesterday. This is once again the meeting spot for people who are coming to see the show. People just want to be part of the vibe, and it's the place where you can pick up a lot of bracelets. I've been given all of these today by Swifties from all over North America who just want the opportunity to meet people and make new friends. But there is a different talk today, which is, of course, the review of last night's show.
Toronto, we are so back!
Taylor Swift taking the crowd by storm last night in front of 50,000 screaming fans inside the Rogers Centre. The show did not disappoint. Many of the people coming out couldn't believe what, in fact, they had seen in the Eras tour, it being so much bigger than anything she's ever done before. Now, that moves into today, and then today what we're talking about is just how many fans come from far and wide. I spoke to 2 fans today who actually came from Tampa, Florida, Jacqueline and Yvonne. They came up here after their most recent hurricane. They decided they wanted to come to this show because Jacqueline had actually celebrated 10 years cancer-free. Here's a little bit of what they had to say.
2013, I got diagnosed with colon cancer, and I listened to her music every single day, over and over, when I couldn't sleep, during treatments, and it really helped me get better. Yeah. She's amazing.
What does today feel like?
Undescribable. These are my best friends, and to have them come with me, it's a journey, and it's absolutely amazing.
So she's our Swiftie friend, right? She's our Swiftie friend, and we're here to support her on her 10-year journey of being cancer-free, and so we are enjoying this era.
Now, with me to talk about tonight's show is 7-year-old Avery. She actually gave me one of my bracelets that I'm wearing right now. Can you tell me what it feels like seeing all this?
Very exciting.
And your outfit, please explain it to me.
I just got this jacket, and my mom was like, oh, it looks like one of the albums. So I went.
It looks really good. How does it feel to see all the Swifties around here and to be able to trade bracelets with news reporters and other people?
Crazy.
All right, thank you very much for joining us. And as you can see, this is what's happening all day. If you look behind me, people are meeting up, talking about the show tonight. And like you said, Nathan and Michelle, 1 down, 5 to go. The momentum is not stopping. Reporting live, I'm Sean Leathong. I'll send it back inside.
I'm sure it only gets better. Thank you, Sean. We have more news in a moment, but first, here's a live look at the city this afternoon. It's cloudy, cool, but normal for this time of year. Suddenly it got dark. A warm jacket, hat, gloves is a good idea, especially if you're spending time outdoors. Jessica Smith is here with a look at the forecast. And for those heading to the Rogers Centre, I guess they should dress warm once again.
They should. I mean, again, it's another slightly above seasonal day, and we're looking at a much lighter wind today. The drizzle we have from this morning, it really tapers off, and they're just left with cloud cover. But being outside all day yesterday, there wasn't a single Swiftie out there that really cared about the actual weather. Temperature-wise today, again, it is another one that's a little on the fresher side. A northwesterly wind this afternoon will have it feeling a little cool out there, but overall it's comfortable. In the low to mid-single digits as we step into this midpoint of our day, and then as we head in towards the evening, although we don't get a ton of sunshine, we will just hold on to cloud cover. So they're staying relatively dry, just not all that bright. As we head in towards our afternoon, though, we'll see a daytime high again just above that seasonal average around 7 degrees, which is where we're sitting right now. And the winds remain light, but they are northwesterly. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast, including the forecast for tonight if you're heading out to the concert or just enjoying your Friday, and a look ahead to your weekend. But right now, it's back over to Nathan and Michelle.
Thank you, Jess.
Thanks.
To a developing story out of Scarborough. One person was found with a gunshot wound inside a vehicle that fled from police this morning. According to investigators, police tried to stop a vehicle near Bellamy Road in Lawrence at 4:43 a.m. when the suspects fled. Police did not engage in a pursuit, but continued to follow the vehicle. Later this morning, that same vehicle was involved in a crash near Midland and McNichol. One person was found with a gunshot wound, and 3 suspects were taken into custody. Police say a gun was also recovered at the scene.
A march and vigil were held in Hamilton last night for a man shot and killed by police. Members of the Rwandan community and others joined the family of Erickson Kabera. The 43-year-old father of 3 was shot at an apartment building on Main Street West last Saturday. The SIU, which is investigating, initially said there was an exchange of gunfire, but later said Kabera did not appear to have fired a gun. Family members and community members spoke at the vigil.
I want to thank everybody. This is what Erickson would like to see. This is why Erickson will be here. He probably would have been here yesterday because that's who he was, right? He was a very kind soul. He was very involved into the community. And we need to make sure that my brother gets justice.
Yes. 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 We stand here not only to honor Kabera's memory, but to call for accountability. To call for justice. Yes. What does justice look like? Justice to us, we might point a finger at the police, but it starts with my community speaking to my executives from the person that made that first call that there was an issue when there's not. We're all culpable and nobody's left behind, from the person that made the call to the person that shot Erickson.
Kabera's family says he came to Canada 20 years ago and worked tirelessly to support them. He worked as a resource officer at the Canada Revenue Agency.
The FBI has released a new photo of a former Canadian Olympian wanted on murder and drug charges. The new photo shows Ryan James Wedding looking at a mobile phone. His looks are dramatically different from the headshot the FBI previously released. Wedding is accused of running a drug trafficking network. Authorities also allege he orchestrated the murder of a couple in Caledon in 2023 in a case of mistaken identity.
The Ford government has signed a $100 million deal with Elon Musk's SpaceX to deliver high-speed internet to remote residents in rural and northern Ontario. Infrastructure Minister Kinga Surma says the new so-called OnSat program will bring SpaceX's Starlink high-speed satellite internet system to 15,000 homes. She says the service will be used to connect people in the hardest-to-reach areas of the province. The system is due to go live next summer. This investment covers equipment and installation costs, but not monthly fees.
The battle over bike lanes continues. City Council has approved a new bike lane on Parkside Drive.
But Queen's Park could still pump the brakes on this plan. CTV's Natalie Johnson has those details.
Parkdale's Parkside Drive will get its own bike lane, given the green light at City Hall, unless, of course, that council-approved plan gets quashed by Queen's Park.
Doug Ford can do whatever the hell he wants with us.
Just because the Premier can doesn't mean the Premier should.
As the province pushes forward with its bike lane blocking bill, Council sat down to plot its path forward, accusing Doug Ford of meddling in a municipal matter.
Whether you agree with the bike lanes or not, this is a local matter, not something the province should be focused on.
The Premier has made it clear he wants the bike lanes on University, Bloor and Yonge Street ripped out. City staff say that will come at a cost. $48 million to remove them, almost double the $27 million it cost to put them in.
In what world is the best use of $50 million of public money to destroy brand new infrastructure that would last for 75 years and make life more affordable, healthier and safer for the people of this city, just because Mr. Ford likes to sit in his limousine and not have a nurse on her bike go by him?
The Premier's Deputy Chief of Staff questioning that $48 million figure relative to past costs of pulling out bike lanes on Jarvis and Brimley.
Obviously, University Avenue, which I wrote on this morning, much more significant infrastructure, concrete in place there. But Bloor West, like we're talking flexi posts and paint, that could be taken out over a long weekend working overnight.
What's more important to you in this motion, the appearance of fighting the province or actually winning?
The mayor asking the province to stay out of city business.
I think it's important that this council and the people of Toronto have the respect they deserve.
And calling for collaboration.
Have you had the opportunity to talk to the Premier about all these various issues that are in this motion?
No, I have not.
The mayor leaving the door open to legal action if the province doesn't stay in its lane. Natalie Johnson, CTV News.
And City Council has approved a new bylaw to curb illegal renovictions. Landlords who plan to evict tenants to renovate their properties will be required to take a number of steps, including applying for a rental renovation license. To obtain the license, a report is needed from a qualified person showing the work is so extensive the unit must be vacant. The cost of the license is $700 per unit. The bylaw also includes guidelines for compensation for displaced tenants.
Returning now to the postal workers' strike impacting Canadians right across our country after the union and Canada Post failed to reach a deal before midnight. Let's bring in CTV's Scott Hurst for more on what's happening with this strike. Scott, are you there?
Michelle, good afternoon. Yeah, it is the afternoon now.
So tell us, this is, I mean, timing-wise, this is not ideal. Obviously, a lot of people are going to be planning to send cards and packages as we head into the holiday season. Where do things stand?
Timing is a big factor in this for Canadians and Canadian businesses. As you mentioned, Black Friday shopping's coming up, holiday shopping's coming up, where a lot of Canadians rely on sending letters, sending parcels across the country. Also for businesses, we heard from the Canadian Federation of Independent Business saying 2/3 of small businesses in this country believe they'll be negatively impacted by a stoppage of mail delivery. And so now 55,000 postal workers from the urban and rural suburban bargaining units are on strike, with the union claiming little progress at the bargaining table, where they believe they're fighting for improved wages, job security, safe working conditions, improved rights for temporary employees, just to name a few of the sticking points here, whereas the corporation Canada Post has countered with an offer that was rejected by workers recently that the Canada Post believes it was offering competitive wage increases of 11.5% over 4 years and additional paid leave while protecting their defined benefit pension and job security provisions. However, it appears even with the threat of this Friday deadline looming over talks, the two sides cannot come to an agreement. And Michelle, it's not just this week and the pressure cooker of this week with that Friday deadline. The two sides have been negotiating now for nearly a year. And as you started with, timing is important here because, of course, we are coming to the busy holiday season.
So people who have plans, who would have been using Canada Post, want to know, what do we do now? How will this impact them? How is this impacting things as we speak?
There will be a significant impact, likely for millions of Canadians. However, not as much maybe as there were 10, 15, 20 years ago. And that is part of the issue here that Canada Post says it's had a significant loss of revenue, believing it is at a critical juncture, losing $3 billion since 2018. And Canada Post says losses continue to mount. And Canada Post saying that it needs to drastically change many things to be much more competitive, particularly in parcel delivery. And so that is also looming large over these talks. And so Canadian businesses, we've heard from Canadian charities this week that are concerned about getting donations. And so that is a significant concern for charities. And I mentioned small businesses. And so there are other options in some larger urban centers to get parcels delivered. But for those in smaller rural communities, Canada Post sometimes is the only way to get things out and to receive things in these small rural settings. And so this might have more of a significant effect on smaller communities across Canada.
Certainly, the impact is widespread. We'll have to see where this goes. CTV's Scott Hurst live for us in the National Newsroom. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.
Starting next week, Mounties will start using body cameras that select detachments with the aim to have nearly all officers wearing them by this time next year. It's part of a push to make the RCMP more accountable. CTV's Rachel Aiello has the details.
It says that it's ready.
Thousands of frontline RCMP officers will soon be starting their shifts equipped with a body-worn camera.
And we can record up to 60 hours of footage.
The RCMP announced the start of a phased national rollout. 1,000 general duty officers will be equipped with the device each month. Full implementation of more than 10,000 cameras is expected within a year to 18 months. The RCMP says it has trained officers to take a seatbelt off, camera on approach, meaning they'll be recording most interactions.
We tap twice in the center, it turns to red, which means it's recording.
The audio and video captured will be uploaded to an evidence management system with policies around who can access it and for how long.
I see your hands.
This program was first promised in 2020. After a series of high-profile and deadly police interactions with people of color sparked demands for police reform. The RCMP commissioner says the rollout is a step towards a more modern and accountable RCMP, with the aim of enhancing trust. It's a tool the police union welcomes.
You know, it's like a sports replay. Let's go to the tape and see exactly what happened.
Officials said these cameras will not be used for facial recognition at any time, though other privacy and efficacy concerns exist.
So body-worn cameras have been tested largely for two things. One, does the presence of body-worn cameras reduce the likelihood of police use of force? And two, does the presence of body-worn cameras reduce civilian complaints about police? And the findings are inconsistent.
Rachel Aiello, CTV News, Ottawa.
And in Ottawa, the public inquiry into foreign interference is being extended. Commissioner Marie-Josée Hogue requested extra time, which was granted by the federal government. Her final report is now due by the end of January, a month later than expected. Opposition parties have been notified. The Commission's latest hearings looked at the ability of Canadian agencies to identify and counter foreign meddling. It also held a series of policy roundtables to help develop recommendations.
To Peru, where the APEC summit is now underway. The Prime Minister kicked off a series of meetings today with fellow leaders. The Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Group works to resolve trade barriers and grow economies across the Pacific Rim. APEC officials say the gathering is a crucial one for Canada in navigating a shifting world. Justin Trudeau will be in Lima until Sunday, when he will fly to Brazil for the G20 summit. Well, how about this? The Roaring Lion, as it's called, has been returned home. A stolen portrait of Winston Churchill is back on the wall of an Ottawa hotel today. A ceremonial unveiling was held at the Fairmont Chateau Laurier this morning. The famous image of the former British Prime Minister was stolen off the wall in 2022, with the thief placing a fake in its place. Ottawa police eventually tracked down the original painting overseas in Italy. A man from a town just outside North Bay has been charged with forgery, theft, and trafficking. Photographer Yusuf Kar snapped this iconic portrait back in 1941 in the Speaker's office on Parliament Hill. This was just after Churchill delivered a wartime address to Canadian lawmakers. Jess.
Well, not a terribly sunny end to the week, but at least we are holding on to temperatures above seasonal. We will see our winds a little lighter today, but still a little cool. So if you're heading out this afternoon, a layer or two, probably a good idea. This afternoon, we'll see a daytime high right around 9 degrees. A seasonal norm is 7, so it's not wildly above where we should be, but it definitely counts. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast as we wrap up the work and school week and look ahead to the weekend that brings a little more sunshine. Those details after the break.
All right, let's talk about that forecast. And of course, we're still talking about the big concert. You were there last night, still feeling the buzz, I'm sure.
You know what? We're back in the office today after being unleashed in the downtown core, and we had so much fun. It's fun to be on location for just a really lighthearted story, and the fact that I cannot believe Swifties and the positivity, and it's just, let me take a picture for you. They're just so kind and friendly.
It was buzzing, and it really was nice to see the costumes. Like, people were decked out, and it was early, and the weather obviously not the warmest, but I'm like, y'all are lucky, because this is still relatively mild for the month of November in Canada, in Toronto for this time of year. But it was a fun day, lots of energy. I still have one of my friendship bracelets on, but the energy was palpable. Heading into the day today, more energy, more Swifties, or if you're just existing in the city of Toronto today, it will be a beautiful one. Weather is brought to you by the Presser Law Firm. Injury lawyers, you don't pay unless they win. Not a ton of sunshine today, but you know what? We're still holding on to a relatively mild day. We don't have those really gusty winds that we had yesterday, making for a fantastic end to the week. It is going to be busy in the city, obviously, with the 5 more shows that Taylor Swift has, but the forecast really quite agreeable for the majority of it. Right now we're sitting at 7 here in the city, 10 through Windsor, 7 in Ottawa, and everybody kind of holding on in that mid to upper single-digit range in Southern Ontario. Northern Ontario, bit of a different story. As we head into the afternoon, we'll sit around 9 degrees, so we're not wildly above seasonal, but again, every degree counts as we get into this kind of midpoint of November. We're looking at a northwesterly wind, keeping everybody kind of cool, but keeping us honest, right? It'll keep it kind of in that 2 to 3 degree range of the seasonal norm. Into this evening, another mild one will sit at about 5 degrees. We should be at 1, so not a big change from yesterday, almost identical. We just don't have that midday sunshine. But everybody, for the most part, as we head through the overnight, relatively close to their seasonal averages. We watched that rain very closely yesterday, coming in just around the 6 o'clock hour, and then just a very late drizzle. That continues to push its way out. Behind it, we will see a little bit of a trough that brought that chance of drizzle this morning. But as we head into the end of our day today, into the beginning of our weekend, high pressure settles in, making for a beautiful and very sunny start to the weekend. Again, just some cloud cover today. We're not dealing with much in the way of any extreme active weather. The wind is significantly lighter throughout the day today. A lot of that cloud cover clears out as we head overnight. And then it's just beautiful sunshine. We're back into the double digits this weekend, not by a lot, but it is going to feel a little warmer out there, and we will see consistent sunshine as we head throughout the day on Saturday. Into Sunday, a little more cloud cover pushes through, but overall, we have a beautiful weekend ahead of us, a very standard fall weekend. We get back into the double digits on your Saturday, lots of sunshine out there. We'll drop down to just 1, but that is closer to where we should be for this time of year. Looking ahead to Sunday, a little more cloud cover out there, but we'll see peaks of that sun here and there. We get back down to 9, 5 for the low, so we are at or above seasonal for the most part throughout the entire weekend. Looking ahead to next week on Monday, the chance of maybe a scattered shower making its way through, but we'll still see a decent amount of sun. And we're really staying in that seasonal range between 2 to 3 degrees for the high and the low. So no, it's not the 20 degrees we were seeing earlier in November, but still quite nice. Looking ahead to kind of the end of next week, a little shower activity rolls in. It cools things down towards Thursday, but overall, we really do step into the middle of the month in a very typical way. I know what I'm doing on Sunday. I'm going to be watching the Grey Cup, but Nathan, I'm going to send things back over to you.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Jess.
Thanks.
Well, the countdown is on. The Toronto Argonauts will vie for their 19th Grey Cup on Sunday, but they'll have to go through the Winnipeg Blue Bombers first, a team the Boatmen have faced 8 times in the championship game. And it just wouldn't be the Grey Cup without an appearance by Tough Enough. The horse strode into downtown Vancouver yesterday in a beloved tradition that began in 1948. But as we get closer to kickoff, attention is turning to what may happen on the field. Can the Argos overcome the loss of their star quarterback? And how will they do against a team playing in its 5th straight Grey Cup? A lot of storylines and questions heading into the big game Sunday. For more, we're joined by TSN's play-by-play announcer, Rod Smith. Good to see you, Rod. So we're getting closer to the big game. How will the Argos cope without their starting quarterback?
Well, it's a good question, Nathan. It's much talked about, understandably. I mean, Nick Arbuckle was actually 3rd on the depth chart just until a couple of weeks ago when he moved up to number 2, and all of a sudden Chad Kelly gets hurt late in the 3rd quarter in Montreal last Saturday, and he is starting in his first ever playoff game, and it happens to be the Grey Cup. I mean, since coming into the CFL in 2017, he's had about 25 starts. He's been mostly a backup, so this is the biggest stage for him. But I'll tell you, this Argonaut team runs the football well. They have an excellent defense, especially up front, and they're outstanding on special teams as well. And the 2 games they had against Winnipeg this year, one where Chad Kelly did not play, they won them both. They were low scoring, and they were close, within a field goal. So even without Chad Kelly, Winnipeg was established as over a 10-point favorite. I don't see it. I think it's going to be a much closer game.
You know, some are saying that Winnipeg could be a dynasty. What makes them so good?
Well, consistency, and it starts at the top with former Argo Hall of Fame linebacker Mike O'Shea. 10 years as head coach in Winnipeg, and the last 5, all of them going to the Grey Cup. They've gone through changes. Now, they do have a core of the quarterback. Zach Collaros, of course, is a big part of that. And back Brady Oliveira, one of their offensive linemen, one of the best ever, and Stanley Bryant. On defense, Willie Jefferson. Adam Big Hill, he's injured. He won't be playing in this game. But they do have a core of a veteran leadership that, despite all the changes they've made, and they've made quite a few as well, they have stayed to the Mike O'Shea philosophy, team first. And you could see over the course, even after a rough start, Winnipeg started 0-4. But they started to win a lot late in the season, and they started to look like the Blue Bomber teams we've seen in the last few years. But in this day and age of free agency, to get to the Grey Cup 5 years in a row is remarkable. It's hard to imagine ever seeing the likes of this again.
Yeah, pretty impressive. So for Toronto to win, what are some of the things you think they need to do?
Well, we'll start at the quarterback story because that's the biggest one, Nathan. But for Nick Arbuckle, and Ryan Dinwiddie, basically said this to him: don't try to be the hero here. Don't try to do too much. Don't force the issue and make mistakes. And Dinwiddie knows what he speaks of, because back in 2007, in the Eastern Final, Winnipeg beat Toronto, but they lost their star quarterback, Kevin Glenn. And so a young backup quarterback who had never played, never had any reps at all in the CFL, by the name of Ryan Dinwiddie, was thrown into the biggest game of all, and he threw 3 interceptions, and Winnipeg ended up losing that game. I think what he wants from his quarterback, and knowing what it's like to be thrown into this, is, you've got a great team around you. Don't try to force things. Try to manage the game. Try not to turn the ball over. And let the defense help you, and special teams as well. Toronto is a very well-rounded team, so I think that's going to be important. That Arbuckle, he has to push the ball down the field. He's got a good running game, but he has to be careful with the football.
And how much fun is it for you to cover another Grey Cup?
Oh, I've loved this event since I was a kid, and I've been to it as a fan, and as a reporter, and as a studio host when we got to come out to these events. And this will be 4 years for me getting to call the game. It's the best seat in the house, for me anyway, who would normally be watching it on TV and talking at the same time anyway, even in my basement rec room. So to me, it's a labor of love, and I'm looking forward to it.
Well, that'll be me watching in the basement. All right, CFL on TSN play-by-play announcer Rod Smith. Thank you. Enjoy the game.
Thanks, Nathan.
Me too, Rod. You're the best. Edmonton Oilers captain Connor McDavid is celebrating a major career milestone.
Ran into his own man and then gave it away to Nurse. Now Draisaitl with McDavid. 2-on-1. Draisaitl across. One-timer score! 1,000!
There it is, his 1,000th career point in last night's game against Nashville. He accomplished the feat in just 659 games. Only Mike Bossy, Mario Lemieux, and of course Wayne Gretzky reached that milestone faster than McDavid. The Oilers beat the Predators 3-2 in overtime to make the game even sweeter for fans. And boxing legend Mike Tyson will be back in the ring tonight for his first professional fight in nearly 2 decades. The 58-year-old former heavyweight champion is taking on 27-year-old YouTuber turned fighter Jake Paul. The two were set to face off earlier this year, but the match was postponed when Tyson experienced an ulcer flare-up. The bout takes place in Texas and will stream exclusively on Netflix.
Still ahead, a skin disease that 1 million Canadians suffer from. A new study is highlighting the need for greater access to treat psoriasis. That's after the break.
The Princess Margaret Home Lottery early bird deadline is midnight tonight. My name is Nicole Cervinas, and right now we are at the $2.7 million Kawartha waterfront cottage. It's absolutely beautiful. Could be yours to have. I'm going to bring in Ramona Oz, who's the VP of Lotteries. Now, Ramona, this all goes to a really special cause, right?
Absolutely. Cancer is a leading cause of death in the country, sadly, and 2 in 5 Canadians will be diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime. And the funds from the home lottery really fuel cancer research at the Princess Margaret, one of the top 5 cancer research centers in the world.
Pretty incredible. And
Yes.
again, like we said, pretty incredible prizes to have been won as well.
Yes.
Over 16,000 worth over 14 million.
That I know. We are the largest charitable lottery in Ontario. You want to get in to win. Deadline is tonight, and yes, we're at the cottage, but we have so many other prizes like you described.
What are some of them? Because the King City show home looks incredible.
I know. So the whole prize is valued at $7.4 million. Includes a beautiful, beautiful show home, fully furnished, professionally decorated, and $500,000 cash. And of course, we're Princess Margaret big. We've got more. We have our Georgian Bay beautiful show home. The prize is valued at $2.4 million, includes $50,000 cash. Views of Georgian Bay, beautiful open concept space. I'm telling you, imagine entertaining over the holidays in that kind of home.
What a dream, for
Yes.
real, honest goodness.
Exactly.
And there's another opportunity because you have the 50-50 jackpot.
That's right. So our last jackpot exceeded $7 million thanks to all of you. And today, right now, we have exciting news that our jackpot is at $5.4 million and growing by the hour. That means the winner will take home over $2.7 million. And there's more, Nicole. What? We've got our cash calendar. So we're giving away money for 100 days. And of course, 2 grand prizes of $200,000 each. And if you love to travel, how about add on a Wanderlust? It's an all-new program at the Princess Margaret, which of course supports cancer research. Think about your bucket list dream vacations, tickets to the Super Bowl, an art and foodie experience in Paris, Japan. We've got it all. And of course, like I said, all supporting a great cause.
All supporting a great cause. Don't forget to get your tickets to win the $2.7 million early bird grand prize midnight tonight, princessmargaretlotto.com.
And Nicole, can I add the phone number?
Add the
we
phone
know
number.
lots of people like to call in. So 1-866-631-1234. We are over 75% sold. Last program sold out. You don't want to be disappointed.
About 1 million Canadians suffer from psoriasis, but while the latest treatments can be very effective, access can be difficult.
CTV health reporter Pauline Chan has more on a new study looking at treatment for the skin disease.
It started out with itchy elbows, and then it slowly started spreading to different joints. So I noticed it on my knees, on my ankles, and eventually on my hands.
Holly Rockbrune says psoriasis is more than a cosmetic problem.
When you have small kids, you're washing your hands all the time. It gets very painful. Your knuckles will crack and bleed.
And there's stigma attached to the condition too. She's tried dozens of topical treatments and fortunately was recently put on a new biologic drug.
So some of the most advanced treatments available for psoriasis are biologic treatments. And so biologic treatments work by targeting very specific little proteins in the blood that are the ones that are out of control and driving that psoriasis.
But a new study shows many problems associated with getting appropriate treatment for patients with psoriasis. Many describe it as jumping through hoops, especially for the pricier medications like biologics.
It requires special authorization. They need proof that other things have failed. These drugs are very expensive, your average person could not afford them.
Furthermore, Dr. Gita Yadav says the province only covers one medication per patient.
If you have psoriasis, you're really only eligible for one at a time. And some people have very complicated and very severe disease. And those are the ones that really struggle sometimes because one medication isn't enough.
The report also cites the need for more dermatologists, especially outside the major cities, and a more holistic approach to the disease, considering social and emotional well-being as well as physical. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
The federal government has selected a panel of experts to help lay out the path toward a national pharmacare program. The 5-member committee will develop recommendations for establishing a universal single-payer pharmacare plan. The Liberals and NDP negotiated the substance of a pharmacare bill as part of their former supply and confidence agreement. It allows Ottawa to sign deals with provinces and territories to provide free access to birth control and diabetes medication. The expert panel will submit a report to the health minister next year that will also go to Parliament. Quick break. More when we return.
Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Pharmaceutical stocks dropped today on the prospect of a vaccine critic taking over as America's top health official.
Andrew Bell of B&M Bloomberg brings us the latest in business.
Hello there. Here are your business headlines. Shares in drug makers fell again today after U.S. President-elect Donald Trump said he's tapping Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to run the Department of Health and Human Services. Kennedy, 70, is the nephew of former President John F. Kennedy. During the pandemic, he called vaccines against the virus, quote, a crime against humanity. Moderna, Pfizer, and Novavax all dropped 5% in early trading, adding to declines seen on Thursday. North American stocks in general slipped in morning trading, with America's S&P 500 down more than 1%. Toronto's benchmark also slipped from its record closing high yesterday. The market rally after Trump's election win last week has faded amid fears that his policies will bring inflation. And finally, Royal Bank of Canada shares were down about 1%. An analyst at TD Cowen downgraded the stock to hold, arguing that it will be difficult for the lender to improve its already healthy level of profitability and that investors will rotate to underperforming bank shares. That's the latest in business. I'm Andrew Bell of B&M Bloomberg.
This week, W5 is investigating the auto theft crisis in our country.
And John Woodward got his hands on a device widely used by criminals to demonstrate the security flaws.
This client had his vehicle stolen twice already. This will be his.
And the driver of this Porsche came to mechanic Ryan Japol to make sure it doesn't happen again to the replacement car.
How common is it to see someone who's had their car stolen upwards of 2 times?
I can't even count how much calls and emails a day.
They often show him video of what happened.
It looks like they just got it started there and probably going to take off any second now.
The most common way, using devices that look like tablet computers to program a new key from scratch.
I think we have a crisis on our hands right now across the country.
Elliot Silverstein is with CAA. He points to figures that show more than 70,000 vehicles were stolen across Canada in 2023, one every 5 minutes, adding up to more than $1.5 billion lost to thieves that year.
Give me a sense of the scale of this problem. You think about a natural disaster, catastrophic issue like a flood or a hurricane, and imagine it happening every day of the year without any end in sight. That's what the auto theft issue is right now in Canada.
Measures by the federal government have helped drop that rate by around 17% this year. But Silverstein says a major issue remains, those key programming devices that appear to be legally available for sale online.
You know, consumers are vulnerable.
Just how vulnerable, we wanted to check, so we ordered one of those devices.
This is what we got delivered. Let's see what it can do.
We're not trying to train car thieves, so we're not showing exactly what I did. Just know that the key for this car is nowhere nearby.
Acquiring universal key information, please wait.
The first try on a Chevrolet SUV in CTV's fleet didn't work.
Vehicle start failed.
But on another CTV vehicle, a Ford, our device went through all the steps.
This is the moment of truth. This is the key we have programmed, so let's see if this starts the car.
we have ignition.
And with just the newly reprogrammed key in the car, I could drive it away. We contacted Ford, who told us our demonstration didn't reflect real-world conditions because the car's doors were unlocked at the time and we didn't set off an alarm. Locksmith Yasser Jafar says the risk is real in those scenarios too.
The thieves, unfortunately, have their hands on the same exact tools and are doing the exact same steps to be able to steal the cars out there.
Ford did say it's rolling out an updated security package for its 2024 and 2025 models. The device we used was made by company Autel, which said in a statement they designed for locksmiths, but are aware these types of tools have been found in the possession of persons involved in vehicle thefts. The company says it's cooperating with law enforcement and trying to find ways to lock thieves out, saying Autel is committed to being part of that solution, which Ryan J. Paul says can't happen soon enough.
Really, anybody can purchase these things. Is that a risk?
Absolutely. There's no reason why devices that can clone keys should be sold on Amazon.
He sells a security system called an IGLA that requires a password to start the car, something our device can't beat.
And all this week, W5's investigative unit is looking into how a device that anyone can buy online is being used by thieves to steal your cars. Tune into CTV National News tonight for the final part of the investigation. We know just how valuable tickets to a Taylor Swift concert are, and that created a real dilemma for a Toronto couple going through a divorce.
Pat Foran explains why on this Consumer Alert.
It's a Toronto couple. They are negotiating their separation terms now.
Lawyer Jane Sivjan has dealt with many interesting cases in her career, but was surprised to have to help a couple decide who should get Taylor Swift tickets as part of their divorce settlement.
A couple who had purchased the tickets while they were still together, and then figuring out how they're going to handle them now that the concert happens to be taking place after their separation.
The case had to be decided before the Toronto concert dates, and there needed to be consideration. The concert tickets are now worth thousands of dollars. Some tickets on StubHub are selling for more than $5,000, $11,000, and even $13,000 each.
In this case, because of the very specific concert that we're dealing with, the actual market value was going to be so much more than what the couple actually purchased the individual tickets for.
The law firm presented the couple with three options. They could go to the concert together, or one person buys the ticket off the other person, but not at face value. They must pay current market value. The third option was to sell both tickets at current market value and split the proceeds. Svijan says due to lawyer-client privilege, she cannot divulge which of the options the couple took, but she says they considered all three, picked one, and were happy with the outcome. She says when couples go through a divorce, it helps if cooler heads prevail.
It can be as complicated as you want to make it. It can be as difficult as you want to make it, or it can be as easy as you want to make it.
Sivjan was happy the couple could come to terms over the Taylor Swift tickets. It's also a concert she's going to.
I'm going with a colleague. We're both taking our kids, and we're very much, I think we're looking forward to it more than our children are. We're just dragging them along so it doesn't look like we're two middle-aged women going to a Taylor Swift concert.
And that was CTV's Pat Foran. Well, the Oscars have once again turned to late-night TV to choose a new host for the award show. Conan O'Brien's been tapped for the job.
This is incredible. I've been handed an Oscar. I'm an Oscar winner. It's amazing.
You're a host.
Oh, I'm hosting?
Yes.
I'm an Oscar host.
Exactly.
Oh, but do I still get to keep the Oscar?
No, you don't.
Oh.
No, thank you.
When is it?
March 2nd.
March 2nd. I'm hosting the Oscars. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then I get the...
No.
Okay.
Never.
No Oscar. Ever.
Never.
Hosting.
It will be O'Brien's first time hosting the Academy Awards, but he has performed as host at the Emmys and at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Jimmy Kimmel hosted the Oscars last year.
And coming up, the last supermoon of this year arrives tonight. More on what stargazers can expect from the phenomenon after the break.
A special treat is on the way for astronomers and stargazers. The last supermoon of the year arrives tonight. The phenomenon happens when a full moon occurs while the moon is at its closest approach to Earth, making it appear bigger and brighter than usual. This supermoon will also be called Beaver Moon, as November is when beavers prepare for winter by strengthening their dams and storing food. Pretty cool. Another great reason to be in the city.
Yeah. Now, hopefully, obviously, you get a better look when there are fewer clouds, but we got a cloudy night today.
We do, and you know what? It is standard for this time of year. We're just dealing with the leftovers of a system that brought that little bit of rain as we made our way through the end of the day yesterday, so it may be a little more challenging to see it, but overall, we're holding on to a pretty solid and slightly above seasonal forecast as we round out the work and school week. The bulk of the active weather is staying a little further north of us, but we are tiptoeing into the time of year where that rain turns to flurries, but we're still staying clear of that at least for a little while. Right now we're sitting at 7 here in the city, 10 through Windsor, and overall it's not bad. If you're taking on Taylor Swift's concert tonight, it'll be cool, but at least a little cloudy, but no rain. Into the start of your weekend, though, lots of sunshine and back into the double digits.
All right. Thank you, Jess. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long at CP24 and at our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and all of us here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great afternoon. Of course, when I don't hear